Whether you have an art business or if you're looking to start one, you should be aware of this. Because as you watch me draw this today, learn the 19 most common reasons why art businesses fail, why they can't make it, and they're all things that nobody ever tells you about or warns you about like this. And I want to tell you so that by the end of this video, you'll know how to keep your business and how to grow it. Now, first and foremost, what I really want to let you know that I really wish that more people explained or spelled out for you, because I don't feel like anybody really tells you this properly, is that starting an art business is not like any other. You have to be both the product and the producer. It doesn't matter if you're selling in conventions, if you're making online course content, if you're gonna go ahead and monetize social media, or if you're gonna freelance, or anything else that I didn't just say. It is highly irregular. It's not like if you were to just go ahead and create some type of a product that you sell on Amazon where everything is outsourced from you. But the other good news is that oftentimes it's a lot easier for you to start up one of these things. And so because of that, if you've never met me before, my name is Sean. Welcome to the Art Mentor. And I've been able to grow my art business from making only $35 commissions every once in a blue moon to making up to $1,500 commissions, bringing in $2,000 to $5,000 every single month for the last 3 years. And because of that, I want to let you know these most common reasons why most artists just don't make it in this field. And here's what you need to know. The first mistake is that you're gonna get lured into this concept. I'm sure you've heard about it before. It seems like it's the golden rule, but do you wanna chase some passive income? And that's that money while you sleep. It's that bread when you're not baking, right? Here's the problem with it though. Every single type of passive income demands you must front load a lot of effort. And let me just put this into a few contexts myself. As I'm making this YouTube video, this is a lot of effort. I had to build this set. I have to make sure that I have all my lights and everything. I have to record this video for you right now. I have to then edit it. And then I have to make a thumbnail and I have to think about how to make this sound pretty for you all to actually watch. That's a front-loaded effort. If you're going to make course content, you can't just go ahead and hit record, slam out something and hope that it takes off, because it won't, it'll be crap. Believe me, I've done it. If you're gonna go ahead and start to make merchandise to sell at conventions, you have to insert a lot of effort to make sure that that's actually going to sell. And then therefore, when you're not at conventions, maybe you can sell it online on your Etsy shop. Maybe you can sell it online on your own website too. But that demands a ton of effort. And I just want to let you know this, friend. You will never make money while you sleep if you're not trying to chase money while you're awake first. That will never work for you. It does not work for anybody. And this is a total myth. Please do not fall victim for this one. If you would like to demand payment while you're not around, while you're not laboring for it, you have to upfront all of that labor. Next, while you might have to go ahead and start up your business and you might have some costs associated with that. Maybe you need to buy a nice printer. Maybe you need to go ahead and buy a new tablet. Maybe you need to get a new computer. And you're gonna look at all these videos from all of these really popular creators and be like, oh my God, like they have this, I didn't know I needed that. Oh, what's that sticker machine? Or hey, I need to go ahead and I need to buy this. I need to make my booth look amazing. And the worst mistake that you can make on that note is to front everything with credit. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because every single one of those things, that's nice, and friend, you can grow into that. I'll give you advice on that in this video. But you fronting that with credit, there's no guarantee you're ever gonna get that back, okay? There's also no guarantee you're gonna stick with it, just to be honest. You might be really lit up about an idea, and then you go and you buy this bomb awesome computer so you can edit some videos, make yourself some really cool artwork, and then you just don't follow through with it. And then what do you have? You have debt. One of the dumbest things to ever do in any business is to front everything with debt and then assume that you're gonna make it back. I would never recommend this to you. I would never recommend that to anybody in any business either. Y'all are not gonna go ahead and produce some microchip to be distributed around the world. You're not gonna go ahead and buy houses and flip them. Those are things that people would say you can use credit for. Our businesses, never. Bad idea. Start with what you have, start with what you can do. Myself personally, I started on a computer that was literally 10 years old and it barely ran, and I would have to wait a long time for all my videos to actually render themselves, and then my artwork every once in a while would freeze. And I had a really crappy tablet, and I just started with that. And that's what you need to do, friend. Start with what you have or what you're willing to invest with cash, not debt. Moving on. A really common concern that I tend to run into when I work with people on my mentorship especially is that they'll say things like, hey, I want to leave my job, or I'd like this art business to go ahead and take over, be a viable income source for us, be something that can be reliable, can be dependent on. But this next mistake is that you won't ever set any profit goals for yourself. Like, why are you doing that, friend? Just think about this from another perspective, okay? If your objective is to leave your job, how much money are you making at that job? Do you need to bring in $5,000 this month? Do you need to bring in $2,000? Are you in a country that's a little bit different economically? Maybe you live in Thailand, you only need $200 a month to live? Okay, that's your goal. Stick with that goal. Because a lot of times what new art entrepreneurs will do is that they'll just say, I want to make more money. I want to cut down my job from full-time to part-time. And they won't understand how to do that. And then also taking that into account, let's just say that you want to go ahead and sell at conventions, okay? So many times when I work with people in this field and I'll ask them this question and they're like, oh, I don't know. I just want to make some money. I'm like, how much? How much is your booth? What were your costs associated with it? What do you want your net profit to be? Y'all, the more specific that you are with this one, here's the major thing that you need to understand. When you have a specific target, you activate your brain to start to think about, how do I do that? Instead of just looking at everything and being like, wow, that worked out for me. Or, oh, I was so unlucky that day. Y'all, take charge of that, be in control. And you're never gonna do that if you don't set some profit goals for yourself. Y'all can do this weekly, monthly, or per event. But if you're missing out on this, you're missing out on the big picture. Now, let's talk about something that's gonna happen to you. As you're growing your art business, as you're starting to rake in a little bit more money, you might start to feel a little bit more comfortable, okay? You might be able to breathe. Maybe a car repair comes up. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe you need to go ahead and sign up your kid for a new sport. A few $100s, no big deal. Maybe you've got a spouse's birthday, you can pay for that because you've got this new income source coming in for you. And the next dumb mistake that you're gonna make is you're gonna spend everything that you make. Y'all, I did this, okay? And I get it. There's multiple points in growing your art business where you're gonna start to feel a little bit of comfort. Like for example, I remember when I would get a commission for like $50, I'd be like, hey baby, saying this to my wife, of course, let's go out to eat. Now we can go ahead and we have a little bit more comfort. And then it started to become like, ooh, now I can buy this game that just came out because I just made $75. Or, hey, now I can go ahead and no problem, I can pay for that expense that came up out of nowhere. And what this sort of ensues is this thing called a lifestyle creep, where the more that you're earning, the more that you're spending. And so it's almost like negating the entire point of the business. And I'm gonna give you some advice later on today about how you should be doing that, because that's also a very common mistake. But y'all, you have to take control of the finances of the business and not treat it like it is just some magical income source flying into your pocket every month. Next, let's chat about one of the most insidious, one of the most underrated reasons why you are going to not succeed. And one of the major hurdles that you are going to run into is that you're going to assume that what you're doing right now is the best. You're going to assume that these are the best processes, the best things to do, the best places to go, and everything you're doing is literally all you can do. Have you ever said this yourself? Have you ever said, well, hey, I'd like to do this, but I can't do more, or I wish I could start this thing too, but I cannot. And so the way I want to represent this to you, y'all, is that all of your processes are basically like a tolerance level, okay? And what I mean by that is that the more that you do something, or the more things that you start in an art business, okay, you start to build a tolerance level. And then eventually you hit a peak where you're just like, whoa, this is so much for me. And at that point, that should not stress you out. This should be your moment to say, hey, look, how do I do this easier? Because the whole point of being an art entrepreneur is not to just do more. Your objective here is to do more by doing less. And so you need to think about, again, that front-loaded effort. How do you have to expend that energy and that time up front so that therefore you get time and you get reciprocated money back so that you can do more things with it later. But if you're starting to get stressed out about your current business, here's one of the biggest things you need to think about. What can you do to make it easier? What can you do to make your posts easier? What can you do to make your scheduling easier? What can you do to go ahead and make your production line a little bit better? What can you do in order to optimize your freelance pipeline? What can you do in order to optimize your art routine? What can you do for that? Because it's not about just doing more for the sake of doing more. It's about achieving more while starting to do a little less each time. Does that sound a little bit better? Moving on, as you're gonna start to collect some money, and especially after you hit a certain threshold, I'm gonna tell you what that threshold is. But you're gonna wanna think to yourself, or maybe up front, you might think, hey, I wanna start an art business, therefore I should immediately open a business account. And this is a dumb idea. Please don't do this, all right? You probably don't know this, especially if you're brand new to it, but it doesn't work like a normal bank account. You can't just like put in money when you want and you feel like it. Depending on what bank you go through, you're gonna have to keep a minimum amount. This can be anywhere ranging from around $500 to $2,500 or more. It just depends on the bank. But this is a really bad idea because especially as you're just starting out, or if you're not able to sustain that amount, don't do it. It just doesn't make sense. You might be like, well, I just need to go ahead and keep $2,500 in there and I'll be okay. Okay, cool. But what happens when tax season comes around? We'll talk about that today too. And then along with that, you just don't have proof that you're gonna be able to sustain that because you don't have any evidence on it. You haven't done enough. Same thing goes too if you're like, well, I have a PayPal account, I should switch to a business. No, it just doesn't make sense. Honestly, I've been running my art business on a PayPal personal account for the last 12 years. Zero issues, zero differences. It won't make a difference for you either. You need to hit a certain point where that becomes necessary. I'm gonna tell you what that is. When you can accrue about $10,000 within a calendar year, that is your time to go ahead and do that, all right? Next, if you have something really cool in mind, if maybe you have a comic, you wanna monetize that, maybe you got some merch, you wanna monetize that, great for you. But the next issue that I run into a lot with people, and the major confusion, is that you expect people to buy your original stuff. And that's really confusing to think about because nobody knows you. And if you're gonna go ahead and just sell your own original stuff, who is going to buy it? Where are they? What do they like? If you don't have a customer base, if you don't have a following, if you don't have a place that you go to where people will buy that stuff, you hawking your own original merchandise will be a complete flop. You will see this nonstop everywhere in all corners of the internet for how people are not making it. If you are going to sell your original stuff, I just want to be honest with you. Yes, you should seek a following. Yes, you do want to seek getting on a platform that will actually help to push it. Yes, you do want to think about going to events. Yes, you do want to think about networking with other artists and other people who will eventually become your customers. But for you, you might make really awesome, cool stuff. I've known a lot of artists that make really awesome, cool stuff, but nobody knows and nobody cares about them because there's no reason to. If you're unknown, you can't sell your own original stuff. What I would suggest for you, if you want to do this, you got to take it from one of two perspectives here. You're either going to grow that following to sell it, or you're going to go ahead and take the time to transition people into wanting to buy your original stuff and not just stick with the assumption that like, well, because I made it, people will buy it. Because you'll find no shortage of artists that will tell you that it didn't work for them. All right, now here's a really big realization that I came to, and I actually heard this on a podcast I listened to, and I wondered about how true that was. But then the more that I've grown myself, both as a person and as a businessman, the more I realize that this is true. Your number one barrier to you getting better, to you achieving more, to you earning more money, and therefore changing the life of yourself, for the people that you love, for your families, for your children, starting to just reinvent generations of maybe poverty or whatever that you're currently stuck in. Your number one barrier isn't socioeconomics, it's not your race, it's not the language that you speak or where you were born, it's your mindset. Your mindset is the number one barrier to you getting better. If you're not addressing the way that you think and starting to elevate it and challenge the way that you think, you will never achieve what you want to do. It's just like this. Y'all have probably heard before, oh, how annoying, rich people always produce more rich people. Well, I just want to go ahead and flip that on its head. Poor people create more poor people. Middle-class people create more middle-class people. It's a stupid sentiment to just resent rich people because they are rich and therefore produce more rich people. They approach things differently and they think differently. I'm not idolizing them, by the way. Like, I just want to wake you up and jar you from this one. If you think like a poor person, you are never going to ever ascend. socioeconomically, status-wise, or business-wise. It just won't happen. You have to address all of your fears, your doubts, your concerns, your limiting beliefs. If you're not addressing them, then that's literally going to be the barrier for you. And I wish that more people knew this. Moving on here. If you are going to be collecting money, one of the worst things you can do is just not track your expenses and your income. And y'all, this has never been easier. And look, you might even be lured into like buying some like ultra premium suites to do this. Y'all, just use Google. Y'all, I have been literally tracking my expenses and my income for my business on a Google spreadsheet for the last 3 years since I formed an LLC. And you should definitely start with that. And listen, even if you have a lot of expendables, if you have merchandise that you're selling, you need to do this. And here's why. Number one is that it sets you up for taxes. If you're not prepping for that one, then you don't understand what your business is doing, how it's performing, and where you can make minor tweaks and adjustments. This is such a common flaw that I see, and people always think that they have to buy like QuickBooks or some other relatable product to do this. No, just do it on a Google sheet. It's literally so easy to do. And then therefore that sets you up for tax season so that when you need to make all your deductions, you have everything itemized. It is very easy. There's a whole bunch of just formulas that you can plug into it. Piece of cake. And while you're at that too, did you forget to hit that like and subscribe? Because I want to go ahead and give you real honest advice just like this to go ahead and level you up, level up your art business, and level up your artwork itself. And if this is helping you, please share it with somebody that you know so that we don't have more artists failing at their businesses and giving up on something that they really love. You wouldn't like that either, would you? Next, if you're going to go ahead and sell anything, if you're freelancing, if you're selling at conventions, if you're making a YouTube video, if you're pushing social media content, anything in between, one of the worst things that you can do is to sit down, make that thing, make that video, make that post, whatever it is, and just hope that some rando is gonna buy it, because they won't, all right? And the major difference between you actually hitting the target that you want and not is understanding your customer avatar. If you've never done this before, this is the most worthwhile endeavor that you will ever do in any art business. But what you want to do is sit down and ask yourself, who is going to buy this? Who's going to be attracted to this? And the way that you do this, you can look it up too if you need more like examples of how this is done, but let me give you the skinny. You basically want to go ahead and create a fictitious person. And you just want to go ahead and write down like, okay, what's their name? How old are they? Where do they live? What's their socioeconomic status? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? And you're literally going to, in essence, like create a human being. And then because of that, you're gonna understand how your products or your videos or your freelancing is going to relate to them. And therefore, it's gonna entice them to wanna buy that. I literally do this, by the way, with my videos. I literally have like 3 fictitious people that I've made up and say to myself every single time, okay, what 1 to 3 people on this list am I gonna hit? Am I gonna impact on this one? If I'm gonna go ahead, and also, by the way, I do this for my art mentorship, which, by the way, if you wanna learn about my art mentorship for your business needs too, and for your art needs, go ahead and check out my link down below in the description of this video today. And I've literally done it from there. Like I literally have people that I can connect with and be like, aha, that's one of my avatars. Somebody got into that. That's awesome. I'm helping them. And that's how you're gonna help your customers too. You can't figure out how to reach your customers if you don't even understand, hypothetically, who they might be. All right, so are you posting anything anywhere related to your business? Maybe you're advertising yourself, maybe you're advertising your product, you're making videos, you're making posts that you're getting paid from or you wanna get paid from. Well, one of the worst mistakes that you can make on that note is to post without a purpose. And what I mean by that is if you don't have an actual strategy for what you're doing and what the platform is that you're doing it on or the platforms you're doing it on, then it's literally gonna be a wasted effort. It's nice to think that if you just post anything anywhere, it's gonna succeed. But more than likely it will not. Because if you don't have a solid strategy, and what I mean by that is that you don't have a purpose to each post. So just think about this on a very basic level, okay? Here's like just basic social media. First and foremost is who are you going to address and what problem are you going to solve? One of the major misconceptions that a lot of artists have is that just because they post pretty artwork or a process video, that people are gonna just fall all over them. And if you have a lot of clout, certainly you can do that. But if you don't have clout, if you don't have an audience, if you don't have anybody that knows you, it won't. Because nobody cares and it's not that special. And even though your art is special and you are special. The fact that you're putting it out there like millions of other artists are doing is not that special. You have to think about this. What problems am I solving? What problems do these people have that I can solve within my business? What problems do my videos address that people can start to get through? What problems do people have within their daily lives that my merchandise can help alleviate? And so if you're not thinking about this and you're just posting random things, or if you're making YouTube content and you're like, here's a studio tour, here's an art process video that no one will watch anyways, here's just some random vlog, here's a tutorial, then you can't expect any success because you're not approaching it successfully. See how that works? Moving on. As you're gonna start to create an income for yourself and you're gonna start to get money, one of the biggest mistakes that you're gonna make is honestly one of the funnest ones. You are not going to invest any of that money. The whole purpose of you taking funds from other people for the sake of a business is for you to therefore grow that business. And this can start out and should start out super small. Maybe you're freelancing and you just made your first $300 commission. And now you wanna go ahead and you're like, oh man, my chair is so uncomfortable. Upgrade your chair. Maybe you want to therefore go ahead and upgrade your tablet. Maybe you're rocking like a $50 tablet. You want to go ahead and upgrade to a $250 tablet. Maybe you just want to go ahead and get a nice desk lamp. Maybe you just want to go ahead and get a nice mat or a little gel thing that's like the shape of clouds, looking all comfy cozy in your setup. One of the easiest things you can start to do is just slowly invest into your setup, into your comfort, or into your process. Like for me personally, like one of the first things I did was I bought a premium version of Dropbox. I save all of my stuff there and all my files can't be corrupted anymore. So I don't have to save them on my hard drive. Saves me a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of tears, to be honest. Now, here's a big split. I want to go ahead and make this very simple for you. If you're like, well, Sean, I should spend all of that I'm making and investing it. No, please don't do that. That's one of my earlier points, right? Here's a basic split. Feel comfortable going ahead and spending 25% of whatever you make here. Investing that. If you can't do it all at once, like maybe you're only making like $50 commissions, like I've been there too. Just go ahead and put aside $10 of that and see what you can start to accrue after a few jobs, all right? But you can do this at any scale, at any level. And then the fun part is, once you establish yourself as a business, as like an LLC or something, those become tax deductions. That's the real money. Next, as you're gonna be going ahead and selling your stuff, whether it's commissions, whether you're at a convention or anything else, you're gonna assume that the best idea is probably for you to go ahead and price yourself low. And that's a really dumb idea. And so one of the biggest issues that I see with people is that they expect to be able to sell more by selling less. And all you're doing there is you're degrading all of your years of labor, of hard skill and one effort here. And you're just giving it away. And I see this so often, like especially in the freelance world, there's people that are like bragging about how they got, 100 commissions in a year. That's stupid when you're selling them for $25. That's also not a good idea for you too to go ahead and match your product down to what everybody else is doing. You might also be selling at conventions and you might be walking around and like, oh no, look at this person. They're selling their prints for this much. I can't sell as much as them. I have to sell less than them, so I have to undercut them. It's a terrible idea. Y'all, the way that money works and the way that people buy stuff is based on value. You want to create higher value products. You want to create and also sustain your self-value for yourself. I've also had this multiple times when I work with people in my mentorship where they realize that selling stickers is not ever going to make you any richer. It's just going to bring in a little bit, and so therefore what they need to do is push things like commissions, and that's where the real money is, even if you're selling it more than everybody else. That's okay. But you underpricing yourself, that's not a great idea. If your only value is that you're cheaper than everybody else, then I'm just gonna tell you straight up, you should probably expect a burnout because that's not sustainable, man. Now, if you're freelancing, here's a big warning for you. Please, for the love of God, do not ever do any work without getting payment. This is such a foolish thing. And I say this not to mock you, but because I've done this personally. I've gotten burned on this, and then I learned from it and said, nope, never again. It doesn't matter what you are doing, that is custom. If you're not collecting any payment up front, then you should not do anything. I've had my clients ask me to read their book. No, I will not do it until you paid me. I've asked people to make me a sketch or an idea. No, I will not do that until you pay me. I've asked people to go ahead and supply them with ideas or references. I'm like, nope, not until you pay me. Until somebody is invested into you. you have no obligation, nor honestly should you ever, invest back into somebody else until they've proven it themselves. And so what this can look like, first off, go ahead and ask for 100% up front. It's okay. It sounds weird, but it's really not. If you go ahead and you take a look at any other contracting field, this is how they do it too. Second, can they go ahead and they pay 50% up front and then 50% halfway through? Never collect payment at the end unless you're working with a company. And then also too, can they, if they can't afford that, okay, can you split up into thirds? Can you split up into fourths? Can you split up into checkpoints? Can they, if you have a wait list too, make them put down $50. Make them put down some form of money that says, hey, I'm committed to you. If you're not doing this, you're leaving a lot of money on the table and you're inviting a lot of stress on yourself. Speaking from experience here. All right, this next one. This is going to present itself very slowly and it's gonna creep up on you. As you start to collect money, as you start to get comfy in your business, here's one thing that's gonna start to happen, and I see this from artists literally of all levels, is that once they get paid, they stop caring. And they stop trying as hard, they stop challenging themselves, we'll talk about that in a second. They'll stop putting in their best effort because you'll feel all big boss over the fact that like you got paid for it. And I mean, you should feel great about that. But then you'll start to falter. Then you'll start to give up. Then you won't be the best version of yourself. And this is a big issue that I see all the time, especially like in the freelance world. You'll see people that like literally put in the lowest level effort into all of the artworks. And they're surprised why they don't get more business. If you're not caring about everything that you're doing and even your processes, then that's a big problem. So make sure that you care about everything that you're doing at all times, or maybe don't be so upset when it flops. Rolling in with that previous point here, one of the biggest issues that I see is that once you have established yourself as a business, or even if you're just trying to grow one, let's say that you're trying to go ahead and you're making merchandise based on popular characters, is that all of a sudden, magically, because you want to make an income and because you expect that you're going to be a business, you're going to stop challenging yourself. And what this especially presents itself is that like you're going to make the most minor version of what it could be. I see this all the time, again, in the freelance world, where people will pay for a character and they'll be like, here's a reference of this character. And the artist will be like, here it is right back at you. And they'll not do anything to it. Or they'll be like, hey, here's an illustration idea I have. And they might throw you some references, a description. Client might even like AI generate some like poor version of it and give it to you. And you'll literally just like give it right back to them. And if that was the case, like what did you do that was better? What did you do that was valuable? The whole point of this, again, in making our business is to provide value to your customer. And you do this through anything that you're doing. If you're making, again, YouTube videos, if you're gonna go ahead and make freelance work, if you're gonna go ahead and do anything, it's about creating value. And there's no value long-term sustainably in you just putting in the lamest effort. So you wanna find ownership in everything you're doing, give yourself personal challenges, give yourself the ability to explore some new things every single artwork. This is one of my major reasons why I've been able to grow my artwork and grow my business and grow my prospects year over year for the last decade. And you can do it like that too. Now let's talk about a really popular concern. It's gonna come up a lot. And I know that you are gonna start to blame the economy at some point when your profits dip. And you're gonna be like, you know what, Sean? It's Christmas time, baby. Everyone's out buying presents, not buying my stuff. Oh no, look at that. It's just that time of the year. January hits around, no one's watching my videos. Oh, that's too bad, just gotta accept it. Just gotta eat it, right? Or you're gonna be like, hey, the economy's really bad. No one's buying my stuff. No one's purchasing my artwork. Or you might be like, oh, AI came around. Oh no. And that's why all my business went out. We'll challenge that in a second. But here's a big thing I wanna just let you know straight up front. If you're blaming the economy, you just don't wanna blame yourself, all right? You can succeed in any economy. People have grown businesses in literally every economy, even the Great Depression. And you can do the same thing too. People have grown it through the pandemic. People have grown it through great economies. And on the flip side, people have bombed businesses in fantastic economies. You can't use the economy excuse for why you're not doing it. What that simply means is if you're not getting it through any economy, you gotta do something different. Because just to put this into perspective, people are out buying huge expensive video game systems, huge expensive computers, going on huge expensive vacations, buying a disgusting amount of liquor and drugs and cigarettes, but you're gonna tell me straight up that people won't spend money on you. It's just a convenient excuse. You see how that works? And you can't sit here and blame like, oh no, if this president wasn't in power, oh no, they won't get in. Or, oh no, I wish she got in or he got in or they were in charge. But guess what? They're not. And so let's just accept it and let's think, what do we do differently? Because you can't outsource your failure, because in that case, then you also have to outsource your success, which won't happen either, friend. Next, one of the most common concerns that I hear from art entrepreneurs is that they're gonna say, well, Sean, I was doing so good, and hey, I was making all this money, and then AI came about, and then just annihilated everything. Are you in that boat too? Or are you like, I was doing great, and then AI came about? And then you're gonna go ahead and blame that for why you're not getting what you want. And the thing I wanna let you know is that it really can't be the cause and concern for why your business tanked. I see this all the time online, and I'm gonna speak to you as somebody who has helped people before, during, and after the emergence of AI grow and sustain their art businesses. And then also myself too, I've tripled my income since the emergence of AI, not by using AI, because if y'all know me, I'm not about that at all, and you shouldn't be either. And to tell you exactly how you can do this and set this up for you yourself, go and check out this video right here. It's gonna change your perspective and it's gonna change your income too. Thanks so much for watching this, and this helped you share with somebody that you know. See you next time.